course, will now be on the blue side and Gosu on red.
And the nature of Group B, I think the general consensus, at least between us, is Group B is probably the most neutral group of all because all these teams seem like they have what it takes to make it through to the playoffs. And we've seen Axis Esports, they got surprised by your Jawhead pick, by the Mini-Star pit coming in from the Burmese Schools. And the US team, Team Gosu, might bring out the same kind of surprises that Axis Esports who does not seem ready to face in the first series.
That's the beauty when you pit some of the best in the world against each other. Different metas will come into play, and I just love how the Burmese goals brought in Jawhead, which we haven't seen in the meta for the longest time, at least in Southeast Asia. And now we're looking at Kufra as well as Halas consistently getting axed away from day one, and we're seeing a little bit of that trend hitting it towards day two as well. Same goes to that export ban, so one more ban over on the hands of Team Gosu.
Yeah, I think if you are Gosu or Axis Esports, you have to keep an eye on this export. Burmese School, they gave the export away in the previous series and they were able to smash that particular hero hard as they could, and that is a sign that teams are starting to find ways, starting to find cracks in what seems like an impenetrable hero that is on the S tier list right now. And speaking of that, Grok got through again. We've seen Grok yesterday, first three series, got Grok constantly banned out, but suddenly VFM, RRQ started to find ways to deal with this tank, and now other teams are picking up. Guess what? We'll let Grok through. We have other priorities to focus on, and that is what is happening right now.
That's right. There's always that trump card that you really want to get by. And now we're looking at two solid picks for the side of Team Gosu here, with Esmeralda as well as the Kaja. Then, one fun fact is that one of the members of Notorious Villains are currently coaching for Team Gosu as well. So you see them, of course, getting that sort of a amplification in terms of drafting. Well, I'm really hoping that they do get the best out of this. Now, Axis Esports here will pick up their signature Lunox for the side of Rin, and I'm really hoping to see Axis pull off some of their signature picks coming into play, such as the Helkert. But, you know, Helkert, you don't really have to pick it in the first phase, and that will definitely reveal the whole strategy going in towards this entire run. But of course, Masha seems to be a pretty consistent pick that has been picked up by most of these teams, and we've seen so many Mashas going with those annoying split pushes, and it's so hard to even take her down.
Yeah, but Burmese Schools proved that Marsha was not an issue. At least if Axis Esports pick her up. Last year has been playing Marsha in 2 games. It did not work out at all. Hopefully 3 times a charm. Rin as well, like you mentioned, the signature Lunox, he has been putting so much effort, and it would be a shame for Team Gosu to just find another loophole to get by this power pick that Axis Esports relies so much on. And with the Lolita pick, maybe this is Team Gosu's answer to what Axis Esports is trying to do.
Yes, I'm really liking the early pick for Lolita. We've seen so many of that phase 2 pick or ban heading in towards Lolita, so why not force that one out before even getting into its phase number 2, as we are already seeing Kimi getting taken out. Well, I'm not really all too huge a fan with this Kimi ban right here, because there's still so many other A-list marksmen still on the table. We got the Granger, we got the Claude, who still comes by every now and then, and of course, Gosu here could even opt to actually take down one more fighter. Well, not really exactly a fighter, I'll just correct myself right there. Maybe if they really want to ban, the Valor might be a good choice as well, because from the side of Axis Esports, they are still looking for a little bit more of that firepower.
Yeah, and Axis Esports, I believe they also did pick the carry in the previous game. Granger still on the table, like you mentioned, and if you are Team Gosu, I was about to bring out the Archive. Archive was a pick that, while we were watching the previous series, we were hoping that Axis Esports will pick that up in game number 1, where they only had this Lolita as that front line. Team Gosu, they're going to deny this double tank because the rest of the priority tanks, Hylos and Kufra, have been taken out as well. So smart move from Team Gosu. But I also want to point out, Team Gosu during their qualifiers towards M1, they have some interesting picks when during the Shanghai qualifiers, where they have Estes, a hero that we just don't see almost anywhere. But today they're gonna go with the textbook play, and carry will be their choice.
I do like the answers coming from the side of Team Gosu right here. They needed something that's really reliable to shred out some of these tanks, and what better way than to pick up the carry? All you have to do is get the Demon Hunter Sword, and you will get a little bit more of that power spike, or even the Golden Staff as well. But Franco is something that we haven't really seen all too much of inside of the M1. But in the MPL MYSG, this is one popular pick heading in towards that playoff round. So Axis Esports is taking double or nothing, and now they're locking in the Franco right here and hoping to connect those hoops.
Yeah, and this is the all-in, I could say the all-in for Axis Esports. On paper, it seems like it's going to work out pretty well, and it is. The theory crafting for Axis Esports does seem more robust compared to the first series. Team Gosu right now, if you're looking at this Franco, you kind of know that Kaja might not find an easy way to just go and flicker Divine Judgment because of the presence of this Franco. So he has a big task if you are the Malaysian team. But Team Gosu, the Tamus is a really obvious choice. We've seen Leomon being picked out only by VFM yesterday as a stable, neutral fighter. But the general consensus is Tamus is still the more popular pick.
Well, I definitely will agree with that. The Lavador has been really consistent, and the win ratios are pretty good as well, as we are looking at the stats of Tavis. And for Axis Esports right here, of course, great pickoff potential in the early bouts, but heading in towards the late game here, I'm looking at Gosu, and I'm liking how secure the mid and late game is for the North American team. Now, of course, Team Gosu here, being here in the M1, they're looking to prove a statement. Same goes to Axis Esports. So now we're heading in towards our very first game between these two talents. Of course, love the flags as well, pretty much similar in colors in that sort of sense. But for Axis Esports here, they really got to pick themselves up. I felt like that 2-0 sweep that just happened against Burmese Goals, it was a little bit of that sort of a passiveness coming from the Axis Esports side, which I felt was not really that sort of a signature play style that they were in. So perhaps they should be pretty much well relaxed to be confident to play their own game.
Yeah, and the skills will kind of tip as well. Malaysia, the locals would mostly agree that Axis Esports, just like most of the Malaysian teams, are the aggressors. They like to play aggressively, but we've seen Game 1 slightly greedy against Burmese Ghouls with the single tank 2 fighter. Didn't work out. Game 2, same as well. But the game is ready though, so we'll see if Axis Esports can turn this around and flip the script and take on Team Gosu in the second series.
Gosu, the American Dragons here are slowly marching in towards the lanes. And of course, get yourself the M1 ticket. There's a little bit of that promo code that you can copy down if you have not make your purchase. And now we're looking at Ken right here, where he's tossing out the wheel, and Breezy, oh my goodness, already dropping down to 50%. So a rough start for the side of Gosu right here, but shouldn't be too much of a hassle for Team Gosu to come back into play. So Basics will be supported by the Kaya, and they're looking to make sure that Breezy gets that level 4 in hand so that they can go in for that flicker Divine Judgment.
Yeah, and Team Gosu right now is going to go for the standard, and I like the early invade coming in from the USA team, and Evo is the only one who tried to go for protection on that buff, and he actually took it away. So managing to slow down the tempo from Team Gosu is a good start for Axis Esports.
That's definitely a huge signal for the side of Axis to actually march forward as well. Axis Esports will also try to take down this rook cap without any sort of contest at all. So we're looking at all these other members all over the top side here, crushing over the side of Lasted as well. So Lasted here will just have to hold on for dear life for the time being. But Kenry shouldn't be too much of that sort of problem for him to actually hug by the corners of the tower of the bot lane.
Yeah, and Axis Esports taking a page out of what Burmese Ghouls did in the first series against them. In under a minute and a half, Burmese Ghouls were able to take that top tier 1, rendering this Marsha ineffective. And right now what Axis Esports trying to do is to take that bottom tier 1, but now Team Gosu, they're gonna jump the gun right now. Lassit does not have that level 4. General, though, pumping the damage with the wheel, not able to get the kill off. Meanwhile, Team Gosu takes that tier 1 bot, and this is what Axis Esports takes that tier 1 bot, and this is what they want. Now you free up the map for Lassit to be a bit more effective.
Wow, Flicker coming out from the side of Breezy as well, and this is going to be that turtle going on slight reset as we are looking at a full Flicker team coming from the side of Axis. Well, way too quick for me to see what's on the line for the side of Gosu, but for Gosu, they're just making sure that they stay safe for the time being. And now Axis Esports already attempting the very first turtle of the game.
Yeah, definitely a bit more composed recovery. They were not letting game 1, series 1. Get to them. So Team Gosu, they're gonna lose that turtle. The fact that they were not able to steal the buff early on, they lost the turtle, they lost the tier 1 bot. Axis Esports, with that slight economy advantage, can look to push this. Then you can see 4 members from the Malaysian team. They are already congregating on the top side of the map. They want to take the top tier 1 just so this Marsha can actually function. Go in with the ultimate onto Paulo. Great wild shot. Paulo is blocked by the wall, so they will get the first blood, and that will go over to Axis Esports.
What a great setup coming in from that Grok. Look at that wall charge ramming onto 2, and that wall to negate this. And now Axis Esports can take more than just that. They've already got the turtle, they've already got the first blood, and they will also take another tower down from the top side. Now, look at the gold graph here. They're already 2,000 in favor, and Axis Esports are looking to dominate.
Lax is looking pretty fine right here because those 2 side lane tier 1s are taken down. Now this Marsha can go anywhere she wants. Like you mentioned, the gold grab in favor of Axis Esports completely. Team Gosu seems like the only aggression that they made was onto Lassit twice. No kills at all, and they're forced into this very conservative playstyle, and that will give Axis Esports the space that they need. They will find Paulo once more, and that one will go over too long.
We can see Scott to suppress him right there, and he could not even move a muscle. Now Gosu here already dropping another member. Of course, this is still pretty much early into the game. 4 minutes in, and we're seeing Axis having a great control inside the jungle, and you see there's so much of that pressure going on, and Team Gosu does not really have any sort of response for the time being. And there it goes, one more tower on the top side.
Team Gosu a bit too passive. They are not responding to the sieges from Axis Esports. They are still leaving that side lane, the Thamas, to farm in the bottom lane. Sure, you get their resources, but the rest of the map is jeopardized by Axis Esports, and not really sure what they're gonna do now because the carry seems like it's not able to find the effectiveness that they need. As we mentioned, that carry does go down, but Basic comes in. He wants that revenge. Paulo as well with the chance, gonna jump right in, gets the stun onto Scott. Long will flicker away. Breezy gets ambushed and gets taken down by Vin, and this is what you want to see from Axis Esports. The recovery, Paulo with a limited blast, but cancels by Scott. He hooks him away, and that will give Ranger the killing spree. Basic now will try to salvage everything to dump in with the Stardust 4, and we'll find that the shutdown onto the Ranger, but Basic had to get away, and Axis Esports will not let that happen. The killing spree going over to Rin.
Whoa, such a beautiful fight coming from Axis Esports, and look at Scott though. go. That beautiful hook cancel out the Numenon blast. And Axis here looking for another turtle, but let's have a look at the replay brought to you by View Mobile. Flip Basic, he went in for a chase, and of course was forced to flicker away. And this is where things get even more interesting. They know that Paulo is channeling ult, and Scott, in that sort of a moment, clutches it off and cancel in time to save members of Axis Esports. And it was only down to Basic, but Rin still made sure that he gets a kill with that flicker coming out.
Yeah, and even with the falling star moon, Esmeralda got the shutdown but was not able to get out. So in the end, the shutdown doesn't really matter too much for Axis Esports because they got more than they came for. Scott MVP for that. Evo now getting ganged on, but he is a drop pretty tanky. They can use the Divine Judgment on him, but they didn't pull him back, and that means Evo will get away. Scott free, and guess what? Paulo Akinre is caught out again, and it will be this one going over to Evo.
Well, Evil X, of course, already took a lot of that damage, but it was Kenray who fall in that sort of a slight skirmish. But looking at Gosu members, they're slowly getting themselves back on track. Though a little bit late though, 6,000 gold lead still in favor of Axis, and that's going to be the buff being pulled over. And Paulo right now is getting that all-channel performance out of Scott, but no follow-up whatsoever from Axis.
And Rin is coming online on his signature Lunox 3-0-2 long as well. 3-1-2, the two calls from Axis Esports are on a roll, and Team Gosu feels like they are really desperately trying to make something happen. The only kill that they got was Basic onto that shutdown on the Granger, but now another 5 Paulo immediately caught out. Not even have a chance to use that Numenon blast, and Team Gosu won't have a chance to defend this tower at all.
I feel like Paulo has been caught out a little bit way too much in this sort of early game fights, and now we're already in 7 minutes of the game, and that's possibly shouldn't be the case at all for the side of Team Gosu, but of course they have to let this mid tower fall in that sort of sense, and Axis Esports here can just run free anywhere as they please. And speaking of that, Kenray getting caught out as well.
Yeah, no way out for Kenray. Another kill going over to the core of Axis Esports. Long now, 5-1-2. This Granger is absolutely massive. Player dispatch available. They're gonna get the suppress on the Basic, but Team Gosu now they have the backup. But keep your eyes on Riz. This Lunox is really scary. He's still left alone. Basic is in, but the brilliance from Lunox will keep her invulnerable for now. One kill goes over to Paulo, but it seems like Lassie will find Paulo in return. General now isolated for the rest of his team, and it seems like Axis Esports will find a win. 1, 2, 3 are down. Granger on the killing spree, and Axis Esports under 8 minutes will crack the base of Team Gosu.
That was technically a team wipe before Kenray even came back up online. Now, heading back into his ad play, Basic was trying to focus everything upon all these members of Axis, but Flicker coming out from the side of Scott to bait Paulo on towards the other corner instead. And of course, Gosu, all they could possibly do was run away, and they should not even commit towards that fight inside of the jungle, and they have to pay the price with that broken base.
The Malaysian Tigers have seemed to awaken after Series 1. Team goes to Paulo. You talked about how he got caught up multiple times, and in all these scenarios, this Lolita just feels like ineffective all along. And with that being said, Axis Esports first inhibitor in the middle lane down. Not even 10 minutes in, the Lord will be spawning up pretty soon, and Axis Esports will be eyeing on that objective.
Well, first, we're having the Malaysian Tigers here looking for their very first win. Well, of course, it's so convenient that Team Gosu also has the dragon logo with them, so crossing Tigers with the dragon. Well, of course, jokes aside, now back in the game, Gosu here with need to stall for a great run. And General here, not really having the best of weaponry to actually hit in towards the next battle, because the tanks from the side of Axis Esports has already emerged with so many of that sort of assists as well as goal, and they've already got all that they need to actually soak all those damage. But Scott here just waiting for any passersby, and perhaps one good hook will initiate the fight, and instead he hooks a minion.
Almost found it, and that will allow Lassie to have free reign of this Lord Marsha. One of those heroes that we know can solo this objective. Look at it go, the Lord does not stand a chance, and Lassie will be the new Lord, at least for now. Team Gosu, they have to deal with this onslaught of Axis Esports. The threat of Scott is always there, and it seems like Paulo will be the victim for the 6th time in a row.
Wow, 6. and no assist at all for the side of Paulo. He did get a kill somewhere between the game, of course, but Team Gosu here, they seem to be having a little bit of that early jitters. Of course, this is, after all, the very first game in the entirety of the tournament, but hoping that Gosu here could make a little bit of that comeback here, as we see Rin here has not even dropped a single time. Same goes to Lasted, as well as Evil X and Lung. On that Granger pick, he has already played a lot of that Granger back in MPL MYSG, and he's known as one of the best out there for the entirety of the season.
This power from Max Esports was missing in the series against Burmese Schools, but against Team Gosu, they are unleashing the full power. The Guardian Barrier just come out onto Paulo, and Paulo now, with his dying breath, will have to hold this door as Team Gosu desperately need to defend against this potential final siege, and Axis Esports, they're just gonna go for the crystal, and they'll bag their first win.
With the Lord marching right in, this will be the first victory round for Axis Esports. What a way to actually start off the entirety of this best of three. But Team Gosu doesn't seem like they have any sort of replies at all in this first game of the series. Now, Axis Esports, like we talk about them, desperately needing points. And this is at least 1 point being secured by Axis. And another game will bring them the entirety of the match 2-0, which will give them a vital 3-point lead.
Yeah, and you can look at the faces of the members of Team Gosu. They are stunned by what Axis Esports delivered, contrary to the first series that they were watching as the audience. This is an Axis Esports that they did not expect to face. And we talk about Team Gosu having those picks that they have not brought out yet from the qualifiers. Maybe the next game they want to attempt that.
Yep, exactly, and Evil X will be the MVP for this matchup, not even falling a single time, and he was in charge of setting up all those great wall charge over the wall, and of course, that path being blocked there, it will give Rin as well as Lung so much of that room to actually mark for it and take down all their enemies. And of course, we've seen Gosu here only getting 2 kills thus far, so they definitely could have put up a better stand. And as we head in towards the recap of what just went on, this is the first blood heading in towards the top lane, and this is where Scott pickoffs after pickoffs after pickoffs. I feel like this guy is definitely one man that's pretty underrated.
And this is where Scott truly shine. And if there's one highlight reel that you want from Axis Esports, this is it. Look at Scott, the hook, true basic on point to cancel the Numinum Blast, which could have mitigated the loss of Team Gosu, but because of that, they grab Paulo. Basic does kill off the Granger, but it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, the kill still went over to the Lunox after that flicker.
Yep, and that definitely was well worth it. As we see a huge lead heading in towards 6 minutes of the game, 8-1 and extended to 10-1 much later on. And this is that sort of a team fight that should not be happening inside of jungle for Gosu, because what they needed to do was just stay a little bit more passive. Whether or not the enemies are attempting Lord, the Lord is not even up. So yeah. What exactly are they actually doing inside the jungle?
And Paulo, there is slight criticism. The Lolita was hardly with the team. You can see that even in those moments where you talk about how he flashed to take down Scott, slightly unnecessary right there. He needed to be with his team. Sure, the Numinum Blast was out, but the fact that Rin managing to get up with that flicker, she should be the priority for Team Gosu. You can see 3 members were trying to kill off their Lunox. Suddenly, this Lolita just goes out of position, gets picked off. But if you're playing against a Franco, you always have to be careful of that surprise, that factor, the element of surprise.
That's right, and that definitely was that game-winning factor. This sort of a pocket pick strategy that Axis Esports still have under their sleeve. So, with that being said, will we see another Franco going into Game 2?
I think Franco is now a more reliable choice, a more prevalent choice, at least for Axis Esports. They have found success in Game 1, and Team Gosu, I don't think they would want to ban out this Franco just because they won in Game 1.
That's right, and there's still so many of that sort of priority bans right out there. Well, of course, the same old high loss as well as Xborg every now and then getting the pick or even ban. So maybe they might still focus on towards that. Or do you feel like Team Gosu is going to change that one up, since Rin as well as Lung was so effective on that Lunox as well as the Granger?
Yeah, I feel like the ban should definitely go to the Granger. either the Granger, Lunox, one of them, and that you kind of need to start not including Cho in the ban list. Cho has been picked once, I believe, yesterday. Did not find success. Lucky was the one playing this hero. If he felt really uncomfortable on it against RRQ. And if your goes right now, the Cho is just a pick that you are anticipating slightly a bit too much. But after game one, I don't think that is your main concern.
Yeah, I definitely would say that it's still pretty relatively safe if we still get that Chow off the table in that sort of sense. But then again, like you mentioned, there's still so many of all these other sort of threats, and Granger could also be picked up instead of being banned, which I feel like is a better option than axing that one away, because Granger, of course, Death Sonata, having such great range to actually snipe people away, that's definitely one utility that they could actually use in some of these team fights for Team Gosu. And in that sort of a trade-off that we just saw between two of these teams, I felt like Team Gosu hasn't really gotten all too much of that sort of elite at all to begin with. So they were just following the tempo of what Axis Esports just set up.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at Team Gosu's Game 1 draft, I felt like the Tamos was an okay pick if it was executed properly, which definitely was not the case. But if you want to put a replacement in there, Chang'e can easily replace the carry or the Tamos. You run the lineup without the marksman, the 2 mage 1 fighter, and it will still kind of be okay because you have the presence of that Lolita. Polo, you look at the Granger, you should be thinking to yourself, I need this Guardian's Bulwark to block out the Death Sonata. Never happened. Caught off, went for kills instead of protecting the team. Just all these crucial mistakes that seem really minor, but at the end of the day, Axis Esports just took it and ran with it.
Yes, and I would definitely say that Game 1 Axis Esports does look like the better team, and it's pretty much a straightforward run for them because a lot of all these members were all scattered, but now we're heading back in towards the draft and heading in towards this Game 2 here. We're seeing Kufra, of course, having one of the highest ban rates so far. What do you feel about this Kufra brand, and why do you think that teams don't really want to deal with it?
I had this discussion with IC Baby yesterday during the match against RRQ and VFM, where the game 2 that VFM won, it was because of that Kufra. I was talking about maybe you can let Kufra through, but I was proven wrong. Kufra, the Tyrant's Rage, the Bouncing Ball, the Tyrant's Revenge, Tyrant's Wrath, and Bouncing Ball. It's just too much. Sure, he got nerfed, but his ability as a front line to disable mobility, to get that engaged, is just way too overwhelming for most of the heroes in this current meta to deal with. And it's just those picks that if you let it through, then you're basically reducing your chances of winning as much as it sounds ridiculous.
And it's pretty hard to actually catch out the Kufra as well, judging from the fact that, yes, there's those tweaks in terms of cooldown and such, but the chain crowd control that he provides is definitely one thing that could disrupt the entirety of a team fight. Now, we're also seeing Kaya as well as Export being rebuked, so we're just keeping some stuff consistent right here as we're heading in towards the later phases of this day here. And Team Gosu now trying to fight back, trying to go in with that reverse sweep. They need something that's absolutely different, and they should come with that plan B. And starting off, they are going in with the Hylos as it's being left out in the open. Of course, that Harriet ban here was something that was pretty interesting to me as well, because sometimes it's being left out in the open, and yet again, not many of these players are actually opting to pick up that Harriet. And I love how Team Gosu loves to also play with the camera.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be Lunox and Grog for Axis Esports. They have found their comfort zone, or should I say, Team Gosu gave them their comfort picks. If you look at the previous game, maybe it should be Xbox and Grog being taken out. Then you can safely take the high loss without having to worry about this front line from Team Axis, who has been causing so much trouble in game number 1. But instead, they let it through. They let the Lunox through as well. Maybe the Xbox and the Grog. Xbox, Lunox, and you let the Grog through. These are the considerations that you have to adapt on the go. But maybe Team Gosu, they have something else in mind because now they picked up the Marsha.
I'm really liking this pick here. And wow, we're having really solid front line sustained for the side of Gosu. So we know that they're going to be playing a lot safer than we're seeing as compared to what we saw in game number 1. And Gosu here, they need a lot of all that sort of burst potential as well. So what should they actually go for in that second phase? Because Axis Esports here will possibly go in with either a marksman pick to actually finish off this sort of round. But if they do go in for a marksman, which means that there will be a little bit less of that tank for them. And of course, they could not even miss out on that Valor pick.
Yeah, and we talk about how Gosu ban out Arkai in the second ban phase. And if you're looking at what they want to pick, maybe the Chang'e could be decent. Maybe they want to set their eyes on possibly the Gord if you want to kind of play the late game. You are still lacking that marksman, that mage. Well, we've seen them play Esmeralda. Previously, I think that Esmeralda was not a bad choice either way if they still want to fall back to that. But with this kind of opening the high-lows Masha into the Lolita, they have a big choice to make because they won't have the they won't have the luxury of counter-picking Axis Esports when the ban phase ends.
Well, I would definitely say the same as well. Like, there's only so little options left for them. And now, with even Chang'e getting taken out, well, this is definitely that preemptive move coming in from the side of Axis Esports. And I'm really liking what I see so far. And now we're seeing another Bruno to come into play. So with this sort of a lineup, we can see great DPS as well as burst coming from the side of Axis. But for Gosu's side, how are they going to respond to this? Yes, they got great tanks. Yes, they can go in for some split push, but they still need a little bit more of that sort of a damage output to actually take down Axis if they were ever to commit in towards a full-blown team fight to fend off against Axis.
Yeah, and Axis had the same thought as well. With that Chang'e ban we talked about, you look at this robust lineup. The only thing missing is probably this Chang'e or maybe the Gord. I pointed it out earlier on, and I think this is the clearest choice that Team Gosu could consider. So they're locking the Gord, they're locking the Kimi, Marksman Kimi in fact, and this is going to round out possibly the final lineup for this series if Axis Esports were able to find an answer to it.
Now looking at Gosu's side, early game may not be exactly all too efficient going in for them, but of course they won't be relying on that Kimi pickup right here. And for the side of Axis, one last pick to actually secure themselves either 3 points or even stalling things out into only securing 1 point. Of course, Axis having lasted here, still deciding 15 seconds left, and wow, I'm already liking what I see with all these sort of picks going for Axis, and they could even go for another fight out, which they've already had their eyes set on towards that Thomas. So this is going to be pretty much that sort of consistency that they will have, and now we're already seeing both sides already finish up their draft. A lot of figures have been being picked up right here, and nope, there's not going to be any other difference other than the Revitalize that has been brought in for Paulo. So this is definitely going to be that sort of righteous pathway, followed by that Revitalize to go in with that amplified healing inside of its zone.
Absolutely, and Gosu, interesting observation as well is that Paulo is not on the Lolita. He's gonna play the high-lows because Lolita doesn't feel like he was comfortable. So maybe Gosu made some adjustments. Right, you fought the Lolita. We'll give you the high-lows. Maybe this is where Team Gosu, like most of the teams out there, they needed time to warm up. Maybe this is the game that they can take it back. The Golden Kimi was kind of expected. And the Tamus as well. In response to Masha, most of the time we've seen Masha Tamus. But statistically, Masha has a slightly higher win rate, at least throughout the day one. So we'll see if Axis Esports can turn it around with this Tamus pick.
Well, I would also say that from the other side as well, Gosu is also trying to bump that one up as well in terms of statistics. But well, I do like the fact that they actually swap out Paulo's Lolita and towards that Hylos pickup right there, because Hylos have so much more mobility as compared to Lolita. Once Lolita commits to any sort of fight at all, she could not even escape. And that was that sort of situation that Paulo was stuck at in game number one. Now, having a little bit more leeway here, do you feel like Gosu stand a chance against Axis Esports?
I definitely would like to believe so. You like the draft of Axis. I do like the draft of Gosu as well. Just like game one, it looked robust, but what I'm concerned about, or what I still have doubts about is probably the execution. But we'll see if
The
Team
enemy
Gosu
reaches
can
the
prove me
battlefield.
wrong. Game number
Smash
2.
them.
It is best of 3 against Axis Esports.
Axis
troops
Esports now already
deployed.
getting that one victory, so they need one more to tie things up. They've already lost one series against Burmese Gold, and at least that 3 points will definitely be a real huge joy factor for them to actually make a comeback. But Gosu here already proxying the wave, trying to actually chunk it down. Not really damaging the side of Lung though, as Scott is coming here for the support as well. Breezy getting standed out, forced to flicker away in this early phase as Jarno as well. Wow, that's definitely going to be causing them a little bit of a commotion as well, hitting towards the mid phase.
Yeah, that is just underestimating the power of this Valier. The Soul's fireballs do slow you in AoE, and he gets one charge every time he lands it, and the accuracy from Scott has been on point. Just like his Franco hook, he's confident with those skill shots, directing them on top of Team Gosu. 2 flickers out. Breezy now does not have it. General does not have the flicker. It's gonna be easy for Axis Esports to collapse on them if they want to.
We're looking at Scott right here, slowly making sure that he zones away some of all these members. But
Oh, they
Gosu-
found him!
First
Oh!
blood.
I got no words for that.
You overstep and Basic is ready, but seems like Gosu will lose Kenrei in the bot lane. A bit overextension. They trade 1 for 1, but if you are Team Gosu, that opening that was given over to God, perfect.
That definitely was a show of excellence coming from the core. Great sun, and of course that channeling element was a full channel to actually secure that for the first blood as well. But Basic here already spotting out
Again.
Scout for another
Turtle
round, and
resurrecting
Flicker has
soon.
to be utilized here. And Gosu here with all 4 members being committed towards the top side. They might lose a little bit of that sort of EXP, but that doesn't matter. They've already got all that sort of pickup that they need, and they're well secured to take this first turtle down.
And we talked about how Team Gosu seems to play a more conservative playstyle, and they are doing so. The ultimate was used, channeling Omen by Basic, so no core ultimate to work with for this next fight if it ever happens. And Axis Esports, they're gonna rotate all 5 members into that middle lane. Lassie is waiting in the wings. Team Gosu now, it's their turn to go on the offense.
Wow, we're seeing members of Axis Esports still on level 3. But look at Gosu though. All of them have already got their ultimates and now moving up already. And they could definitely go in for a little bit of that invade without actually risking all too much. But instead, they lock their eyes on bottom side. They want to pick up Lassit, and Lassit knows that he's being surrounded. But Lassit already gets a little bit of a helping hand coming from.
Oh, they got the flash. Glorious Cavalry, brilliant start to come out from Rin, trying to get away, but maybe not. That's it. They laser him down. It's going to be Polo to pick up that kill.
And he goes to finally pick up that sort of slack to head in towards this second game here with stylish fashion. The North Americans here will take down yet another turret heading towards the bottom side. But look at the response hitting towards the top side though. There's still the Masha as well as Valley slowly trying to find themselves in towards the top side here. Of course, I do mistake myself. It's not really a Masha, it is the Bruno.
And Axis Esports, they recognize that Team Gosu, they like to play this style. Game 1, conservative. Great. Game 2, they were teaming out most of the time. So one of the best ways is to split Team Gosu apart. But Team Gosu, they are not really phased right. They are willingly trading these objectives because they're getting more. Economic-wise, they are up 1.3k. And just to slightly mention, after their first 2 flicker that Team Gosu expanded, they immediately rotated Basic to punish Axis Esports over aggression. Scott was way too confident to walk forward, got picked off. Team Gosu right now, they can take this fight.
And Axis Esports need to find a little bit of that sort of a mistake from the side of Gosu to punish them. But Axis here, at least, trying to hold themselves all together. 2k goalie, not too far off. As we see Axis still trying to actually get themselves in towards that turtle pit and perhaps secure this still. Will X trying to lead the way as well, but Paulo trying to zone him up, and that will not be any chance at all. We'll get a knock up as well as the wall charge they use.
And the Golden Skyway does come up, but it seems like Team Gosu are already losing members. Oh, with the flickers! We're fine too, but they get the stun onto Kenrei, has the damage, flickers it, it picks up the Bruno, and our Team Gosu, they might want to go on the retreat. Basic still chunking out those stuns in the backline, managing to fend up Axis Esports for now. Axis Esports, they got the kill advantage, but Team Gosu got the second turtle.
And wow, Axis Esports, they may not get all too much of that sort of a turtle trade-off there, but look at the team fight. it was executed perfectly in a sense. Look at the position he's at. He picks off Breezy and immediately flickers for the next kill. Though he is getting chunked out by Kenray, there was enough backup time from Axis to still do a little bit more of that trade, but that's pretty much well and fine. And Axis Esports found that momentum, and they are currently tying things up against Gosu, only having very slight margin of lead.
Yeah, and if your team goes through right now, one of the best ways to punish Axis Esports is that aggression. We've seen time and time again. Last team did the same mistake in Series 1. Just now he was long on the Bruno, but the wild trap will come in. Polo not going down just yet. The damage is dead. The Newman Plus actually stuns. They found a target. They can switch their attention onto Scott, and Scott is out. The stun will stop Rain in his tracks. The Guardian barrier not able to block out Polo, but Breezy definitely another stun from Basin, keeping Rain in place. But Long will find one as well as the crowd. 2 kills over to Axis Esports. And Team Gosu, they will be forced to retreat.
Wow, what a bloodbath coming in through the mid lane. And as we see, great dives coming in from all these members of Team Gosu. But that wall by the crowd has already negated Breezy's exit. And look at Evil X right here. He was getting thrown away, which means that Scott was being left out to die. And Evil X could only clip out at least one member of Team Gosu, and they managed to bring him down. So that's definitely some great work. But heading back in towards that sort of the matchup that we see now, Gosu might have lost that sort of a kill lead in that sort of sense, but goal is actually not too far away. There's still time for them to catch up once again. Evil X has purchased that Athena shield and at least have a little bit more tankiness than what he used to have in that early phase. And now it's going to be the turtle here, and Axis Esports wants to actually get a little taste of that. And what could they possibly pull off? Turtle already dropping low, and they're committed to this fight.
Long coming in from the back, trying to go for the flank, and he will find one immediately. He does flicker, misses that. General will survive, and here comes a glorious pathway from Paulo, the maximum prize onto Long, and Long has to now back up because of basic. Evil still chasing with that power of nature, not able to find any kill. Actually, a clean disengage from Team Gosu though. They do walk away with the turtle, I believe. Axis Esports will try to push out the tower, but again, another great start on the Scott. Basic was a marksman, is a marksman. Team Gosu defend off Axis Esports.
Clean as a whistle. Team Gosu managed to secure all these turtles without actually risking their lives. And Breezy, as much as we see them having a shaky start in Game 1, Game 2, they look like different monsters in this matchup. Henry being forced to flicker away, but they're still giving a little bit more chase. But Scott will not go into that hot position. So we need 2 seconds left before the first Lord will appear towards the lower side of the river. And look at Gosu. Now that they could slowly take their sweet time, reset those waves, and prepare for the next fight. But Axis Esports here are securing this rotation and towards the jungle, and they are trying to block the entry points and looking for the kill over bot side.
They want Kenray dead, and Kenray will try to buy time. The rest of Team Gosu can come to the class. Kenray just going beeline towards the rest of the team, but we will find a Cupid. Glorious pathway a bit too late, but Polo will go for the engage. He sounds the Warhorn. Evo's going on top of General, but there is Breezy in the back line. The front line is actually split for Team Gosu, and this is perfect for Team Axis. They're about to collect back in. The Omen, the Shining Omen is there, but basic for the damage was not enough. And now the Guardian's barrier will find the goal. Evil X will make sure Team Gosu goes down, and Axis Esports find 3.
That was a huge swing, and Axis Esports now looking to secure that mid lane tower, and they have absolute control towards the bottom side as well. They can take this one down without any sort of a hassle, and Rid has already got that concentrated energy as well. So maybe after this, they will set up a bait in towards that corner of the river, and it's Team Gosu to make a move.
And if you are the front line of the team, you have to remember the cores are your priority. Sure, you want to control the enemy cores, but Breezy and Polo, they were accessing the back line while their own cores were exposed to Axis Esports, and now they're gonna try again. Evo X being that front line, being that guardian for Axis Esports. Scott does dodge a bullet right there, and now Long will try to turn it around. Breezy with the Guardian's Borrow will try to block it out, and he will do so. So the Lord will be disengaged by Axis Esports. Team Gosu still managing to fend off that attempt.
Now waiting for a little bit of that sort of a reset, heading towards the top side here. They want to shove in all those ways before going for any sort of that Lord attempt. They could even send one member off from the side of Axis to actually take down Lord while they're at it. And Evil X has already spot out Paulo for General as well. So it won't be any sort of that full commitment coming from either Gosu or even Axis. But look at Luke though, he's already bringing it down to 60%, and now Gosu has responded it out, and it will be a little bit of that reset.
Doris Pathway does keep Polo alive for now, but it seems like Riz can jump in, not gonna find the kill, and eventually does actually Breezy. Now not even then, Luminum Blast only onto the valley. The flicker from Wim was perfect, and the rest of Axis Esports goes for the collab. 1, 2, 3, 4 team goes to force like dominoes, and Axis Esports, they might not need the Lord for this one, as Team Malaysia now will look for the inhibitor and possibly the victory as to take down that high ground tower, the inhibitor. As the Kenray, that's really coming back, but the Malaysian Tigers will rejoice. They lock in the first 3 points of Group B.
Axis Esports came back swinging, and as much as they may have lost their first series against Burmese Gold, they are on fury form for this series against Team Gosu. Now we're seeing a 2-0 victory, which means they will secure 3 points and tying things up with all these members of Burmese Gold. But then again, if we count the head-to-head, it is still not really in that favor of Axis Esports in that sense. So,
yeah, Burmese Gold with a convincing 2-0 against Axis Esports. Axis Esports brought that on upon Team Gosu. Again, Team Gosu. What I wanted to point out that the front line Polo in game one was not the best Lolita. I believe we can agree on that. He constantly picked up by Scott, not able to protect the backline. Game 2 looked a bit promising though. Polo on that high loss, and of course Breezy, on the Lolita. But the crucial fights, the front lines were not protecting General and Basic, which I was putting my eyes on because they were performing phenomenally in those fights. And because of that, Axis Esports, they just pounced.
Yes, and we can see evidently that from the side of General, he has the highest damage output out of all these members. But Team Gosu here, they had a magnificent early game here, as we saw so many of these kills heading over the side of Gosu. But what exactly went wrong is that this sort of team fight here, a little bit of that overcommitment after securing that turtle, he should not even try to go on that sort of a chase to actually take down members of Axis. What it could have done is just fall back and try to reset and find a different sort of objective to actually secure. So Axis punishes them, even though they managed to take all these turtles in their hand. They've already lost way too much more of that sort of lead. And this is also one more example where we saw, of course, Breezy hopping right in. Paulo as well as Breezy got themselves in dangerous situations. And Breezy, of course, that was definitely some style points, but it doesn't really matter if you actually get called out all too much. But of course, I really like what Team Gosu has to offer, and I do hope that the next sort of matchups will be much better. And wow, look at this sort of fight.
And this is the fight that actually gave Axis Esports the lead that they needed. Look at Paulo and Breezy. They came in from behind while the cores were exposed, and that Guardian barrier basically ended the fight right there. Evo X recognizes the opportunity, jump on the chance, this one as well. Axis Esports, they were constantly punishing the front lines of Team Gosu for not being in sync with the rest of the team.
That's right, and of course, that Grok once again being the bane for Team Gosu, always blocking their pathway, and there were so many of all these great clutch moments coming in from Rin as well as Link to actually bring all these other members of Team Gosu down. So that should be a interview coming up for Axis Esports, so I'm definitely looking forward to what the boys have to say. But of course, as for Team Gosu, there's still more matches coming for the North American side as well for Group B. But this is definitely that good kickstart of the day where we saw, of course, it might just be 2-0s, but in between we see some flair, some great action, some great picks across the table, and I'm definitely looking forward for more.
Yeah, and Axis Esports, they did bounce back. And speaking about bouncing back, we do have a winners interview with Team Axis Esports, so we're going to throw it to the host to ask what they feel of that 2-0.
Thank you so much to all the casters here, and here with me, the winners for the match here. I have Scott from Axis Esports. Scott, how are you feeling today?
Feeling good, feeling nervous sometimes also.
Okay, Scott, I have to ask you about this here. I know this has been a really early start for you guys here. 2 series has passed for you guys. You guys lost against Burmese Schools 2-0. Now coming back with a clean 2-0. What are your thoughts about today? Because, are you guys going to be able to win the upcoming matches?
I think we can win the upcoming matches. We will try to fix what we learned from our first